As a content creator who relies heavily on drones for not only the business side of things, but also as a passion, I use drones in my free time because I really enjoy flying them. I'm a little bit concerned when it comes to the current state of the drone world. So I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this topic lately, and late last night I was browsing YouTube, I was planning some content for my channel, and I was thinking, what is going on? I keep seeing some things that make me a little bit nervous and make me a little bit sad, to be honest. And unfortunately, I think we've reached a situation where drones are kind of boring for most people, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because if something gets boring, it means that you're getting too much of it, meaning that drones are more popular, drones are more mainstream, we see them all around us, which is great. Unfortunately though, that means that also we get used to that and it's not as exciting anymore. For me though, drones are still super exciting. I get very excited every single time I fly. I still got those butterflies in my stomach when something gets sketchy. But when it comes to creating content here on YouTube, I noticed some things which unfortunately are not great, and I want to discuss them with you. I love making these videos so I can get a direct feedback from you guys as my subscribers. I hope you guys will be able to give me some thoughts from you in the comment section below. Let me know, what do you think about the current state of drone tech and the drone community in general? I have a couple of things that I want to point out. And yesterday I asked you, what do you think, on my community tab. I got some really nice answers, which I want to show you on the screen a little bit later, but we'll get to that in a second. So first of all, we live in times where drones are being released every couple of months. And I'm talking about big drones, expensive drones that are just popping up like crazy every couple of months. And when they do pop up, they bring just a couple of incremental upgrades compared to the previous model, meaning that it's less interesting for people and it's less appealing for them to upgrade to the newer model. Similar to smartphones, for example, or even cameras, people don't want to keep spending money every single time there is a new feature being added to this new product that is released. So they tend to stick to their current gear. I remember back in the day when the DJI Mavic Mini was announced and released. It was just spectacular. People were going crazy about this drone. It was so interesting for so many people to get into the hobby by getting this relatively cheap, very capable drone. And it was just insane for the community. It was just crazy to do content for this drone because people were just all over it. They wanted to know everything about it. Now, there's almost no hype when we get to a new drone release. People are looking for ways to complain about the specific product, whether it's the Mavic 3 or the Autel Nano Plus or the Lite Plus or any other product that gets released. People are looking for the things that they want to complain about first, because there's not that much innovation anymore. So the things that are not that good in the drone are like really visible. They make a really bad impression and ultimately they push some potential customers away. In addition, I think because drones are getting cheaper, they're getting more accessible, they're not reserved for a specific group of people anymore. Anyone can go ahead and buy a drone straight away, and they'll be just fine because drones are that good now that you'll be able to just use some intelligent flight modes and get some nice footage straight away. Because of that, I think the novelty is gone already. And it's not that exciting to have a drone anymore because every second person on YouTube has a drone, which is, again, is not a bad thing necessarily, but it is making things a little bit more, stale. Something else which is definitely one of the reasons why people are kind of bored of drones already is the increasing amount of rules and regulations being added every single day to the hobby. As rules are getting more and more strict, that definitely pushes some people away because it takes away the fun of the hobby. And I remember a couple of years ago, and I was traveling around Europe. I went to some really cool places and I was really hoping I can bring my drones with me so I can capture some nice footage, but it Turns out that most of these places were completely forbidden for drones, and I eventually just decided to not bring my drones at all with me because it was just that strict and that impossible to fly in those areas. So obviously with a channel like mine where I have a lot of eyeballs towards me, I didn't want to break any rules, I didn't want to set a bad example, and of course flying a drone next to the Eiffel Tower is something that will get me in the news, but not in a good way. And speaking about being in the news and not in a good way, I've noticed that drones are being portrayed as something relatively bad for the most part, unless there is some really good story about a rescue operation or something positive that has happened with a drone. For the most part, I would say 90% of the news involving a drone are negative. Most people, when they hear about a drone, they think about someone spying on them or doing something bad, but that's definitely not the case in 99% of the situations. However, that's just something that makes the general public a little bit more skeptical towards drones. So I'm really thinking a lot about the future lately, not only about my future and the future of my channel, but also the future of drones and where will drones be in 5 or 10 years even. Are they going to be strictly prohibited or available to be flown only by specific groups of people, or will they be just as they are now? I really think things will change, and I really hope it's not for the bad, but I guess we'll see. Now I want to read a couple of comments from my community tab where I ask you what do you think about the current state of the drone technology. Brad Henderson says, I think fear of missing out is definitely a big thing, especially with a company like DJI. Basically, they have 3 levels of consumer grade drones. One doesn't need to upgrade their iPhone every year. It makes sense for most people to keep a phone for 2 to 4 years at least before upgrading. I think drones can now fall into maybe a 2-3 year upgrade cycle, at least for most people, once they pick the category of drone they fall into. David says, it's the restrictions. I have my 107 certification and most won't do that, but all the interesting places to film are usually off limits more and more in recent years. It's to the point it doesn't make sense to bring my drones on trips. There are just too many limits and I refuse to be one of the many who just break the rules and make everything worse again. When the transponder requirements hit, the entire industry is going to collapse from a hobby perspective, leaving only professionals to shoot real estate, power lines and movies or news with drones. It's depressing honestly, and it certainly doesn't inspire me to upgrade my current crop of drones. Tony says, I noticed that the novelty of seeing a drone is gradually waning. Maybe the market is getting a bit monotonous and saturated, a new design concept maybe. So what do you think is the biggest problem when it comes to the drone technology nowadays? What do you think is going to happen in 5 or 10 years? I would really love to hear your opinion down in the comment section. Please do let me know, and I really hope we form a nice discussion with you guys. So if you personally are still passionate about drones, that makes 2 of us. So make sure you drop a like below, subscribe to my channel if you want to see my upcoming videos first, and I'll catch you very soon in my next one. Ciao.